Hello, Asheville. Good evening. I hope everyone out there is having a good time and being well tonight. That was Jeff Thompson with Blow Me Open. Sorry, Jeff. He's actually right here in the studio with me tonight. Believe it or not, he's my guest if you haven't really put those two things together yet. How you doing today, Jeff?
I'm doing great. I'm kind of rushing around with last-minute preparations for, well, not last minute, but preparations for my CD release and for my book release. They're both coming up, and I'm not doing everything for both of them, but I'm kind of overseeing everything, and so I'm constantly going around to different people and checking in on different projects and putting out fires and helping people put out fires.
Yeah, so I heard you're big on the firefighting thing.
Yeah. I don't know what that means, but sure. Yeah.
Wait, you're a firefighter, right? That's why you came in.
That most people don't know that. That's kind of just
I thought it was weird that a firefighter brought in a guitar, but
well, sometimes I burn it, and then I have to put it out because it breaks fire codes.
Yeah. But how about you tell us why you're here? You have a CD release party coming up at ISIS. When is that?
Friday, December 5th at 8 p.m. And that will be, I believe there's somebody else playing upstairs at ISIS earlier in the evening, but we'll be downstairs on the big stage.
Okay. ISIS is beautiful.
Yeah,
it's awesome that you were able to grab that place for your CD release.
Yeah, I was lucky.
Yeah, and your album is called So Far So Strange.
Yeah.
It's an album that is coming out, and you haven't really had music out there for a little bit, for a hot second.
Mm-hmm. Well, I came with an EP about a year ago that had actually some of the same songs as this, but just guitar and voice instead of with full arrangements.
Yeah.
But before that, there was quite a long hiatus where I sort of lived a whole other life.
Yeah.
Before getting back into playing music full time.
Yeah, I definitely want to get into that tonight. What we just heard was Blow Me Open, the track one of your new album. What was that song exactly about?
Well, it came, I mean, in a broader sense, what it's about is surrendering to life having larger intentions for me than I can plan for, and opening to that, and allowing that to make me more than I intended to be. And specifically that came out of a set of circumstances in my life that were pretty difficult. A lot of structures that I'd built to try to have security in my life kind of fell apart, like more traditional career and marriage that just sort of all in the course of 6 months, everything just sort of crumbled, and finding myself kind of in the rubble of that, and then the freedom of that, of being able to start over and build the life that I really wanted, or allow the life that I really wanted to emerge, or even beyond what I really wanted, like allowing the life that I'm kind of meant to be living to emerge.
Yeah. So. And were you happy? Did you want that to be your first song opening up your album, like an honest song about yourself, about like, you know, like kind of like coming back from like a dark place? I
think so. And I just thought it was a good energy to start the album with. And then the second song is So Far So Strange, which is the title track, which has a similar theme, I guess, of kind of reflecting upon where I've been and looking for meaning in, you know, in the years that I've lived, and let's go ahead and play that.
Let's do that. Yeah. Everyone who's listening tonight, we're gonna try it out. We're gonna see. Hopefully the math works out. Hopefully we don't talk too long. Hopefully I don't talk too long. We're gonna try to play the whole album from first track to last track. So here is the second song, So Far So Strange.
Under the unrelenting gaze of who I was in younger days, I analyzed the movie of my life. With exuberance and shame, I scrutinize each frame to determine what should go under the knife. But I never seem to get it. I don't have the power to edit. All I can do is write what's yet to be, and keep replaying scenes like self-induced recurring dreams to search for themes that might predict my destiny. So far, so strange, so life is change. This film unfolds, this tale is told. So full of grace, so interlaced, so long, so far, so strange. So long, so far, so strange. So long, so far, so strange. The projectionist has fallen fast asleep, and he's locked the door behind him, and nobody has a key. And I'm sitting there in the theater, growing bored, 'cause it's time to change the real now. And I've seen this one before. I've seen this one before. I've seen this one before. So far, so strange, so life is change. This film unfolds, this tale is told. So full of grace, so interlaced, so long, so far, so strange. So long, so far, so strange. So long, so far, so strange. When it finally becomes clear the projectionist can't hear us, and the real is never gonna change itself, a group of us decides to storm the booth and get inside and quit relying on the whims of someone else. And it's no more deja vu because it's down to me and you deciding how the movie's gonna be. Taking back control in the theater of our souls, rewriting roles and taking charge of destiny. So far, so strange, so life is change. This film unfolds, this tale is told. So full of grace, so interlaced, so long, so far, so strange. So long, so far, so strange. So long, so far, so strange.
All right, so that was So Far, So Strange. Track number 2 from your new album, So Far, So Strange, self-titled song. Yeah, so what was that exactly about?
That song?
We were talking heavily right there.
What, just now?
About other people
Yeah, what
who
were we
make
talking
songs.
about?
So.
I don't know what we were talking about. While the song was playing, we had a conversation about everything.
That
Sorry,
song.
you missed the whole interview. It was all while that song was playing with the mics off. No, that song. You know, the way that most of these songs, if not all of them, I'm looking at them right now and I'm trying to think if there are any that did not come to me this way. Yeah, pretty much all of them. I'll be in a really receptive state. Like So Far So Strange, I was actually sitting by the French Broad River and just watching the water, and a line will just come to me. And lines that are keepers are qualitatively different in my inside of me than just regular discursive thought. It's like they kind of glow, and I can feel it. Like, it's like I got one on the line. I got a fish.
And do you start from that line? You kind of build everything up.
Yeah, and then if I write that line down, usually what happens is it's almost like I'm switching metaphors now from fishing. It's almost like if you've ever pulled up weeds, like when you can feel like you've got it, and you've got like the root, and you pull some of it, and then if you really pull right, then you end up pulling up this whole rhizome that's just below the surface of the soil.
Which is a wonderful feeling.
It is a wonderful feeling. And it's like that with a song where I'll get one line and I'll be like, oh, well, this is like I'm pulling something out of the ground. And I can just, it's really like a visceral thing. Like I can feel it in my body. Like this line, this is a different kind of thing. And then if I write it down, usually it's like I'll pull and the next line will come. And then I keep pulling, and before I know it, I have a whole root ball. And that with the song we just heard, I wrote 2/3 of the song that way, and then I thought it was pretty much done. And then a friend of mine, who a lot of your listeners have probably heard of, BJ Liederman, who lives in Black Mountain. He was
on the show.
I'm sure. Yeah, he's promoting an album right now too. And he's a very close friend of mine, and I played what I had for him of that song maybe a year ago. I played like the first 2/3 of it, and I thought it was done. And he was like, "Oh man, you need another verse where the people who are locked out of the projectionist booth break in and take over." And then he also had suggested that it end with the sound of a real flapping, like of a. But I didn't. I didn't end up doing that in production.
I could see him saying all that in like a very energetic pattern.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a very animated character. I love BJ.
Is songwriting a difficult, not difficult, but long? Well, this album, I guess in general, how long did it take you to write this album?
Well, the first song that I wrote for this album, "Stars in You," I wrote that one quite a while ago. Like "Stars in You," I probably wrote like 12 years ago, and it hasn't gone on any of the other. It didn't make it onto my first studio album, which was just a little over 12 years ago. It was on my live album, and it was on the EP that I put out. And then the next most recent would be Shade of Blue, which is on here also, and that was 5 years ago. But then the rest of them have all been in the last, I'd say, 18 months to 2 years. And I've been really committed to writing for an hour a day for a couple years now. And I usually end up with a poem or a song after an hour of writing every day. It's a discipline.
Yeah. I think you were in the studio earlier, and you were talking about with Tolstoy.
Yeah, Tolstoy apparently would write from 9 to 5 every day. He would sit down at his typewriter. It was a job, you know.
Yeah.
I really respect that,
which sounds frustrating, but I'm sure like.
Well, look at the results for him.
Exactly.
Very long books. But the next song, "Little Blue Box," definitely came out. I thought it was a poem at first. I write probably 90% of what I write ends up just being poetry.
Yeah.
And I thought this one was a poem, but then I decided to try putting some music to it, and I'm glad that I did. Let's play this one. This one's called "Little Blue Box."
Okay. Little Blue Box. All right, that was Little Blue Box.
One big bug bled blue black blood, the other big bug bled blue.
What are you doing to me with this album? Track number 3, Little Blue Box, off your new album. Any description for that song exactly?
I would call it I like to call songs like that "Break My Heart Tonight, I Need Another Song" songs. I told you about that earlier today, where a friend of mine in Austin has a song called "Break My Heart Tonight, I Need Another Song," and it's so true. It's I think being an artist, you learn to look forward to almost everything in life because it all affords you an opportunity to express something.
Yeah.
And and one of the best opportunities is heartbreak.
Yeah,
so
just compiling more sadness with sadness.
Yeah. And joy is a great place to write from too, but there's nothing quite so motivating as like, your heart being broken open. At least for me. And that song, I think that song, I was married for a few years, and I was in a 7-year relationship, and it was that song came out of me maybe a year into my grieving that relationship, letting go of that relationship, and it was pretty cathartic for me, that song coming out, or that poem coming out. Sometimes when I write something, that poem included, a lot of tears come with it. And it feels like, it's something that needed to come out, like something that was stuck, that got moved and comes out in the form of a piece of art. But on a personal level, it's like, that something just moved through me, and I'm a little more free now.
Yeah. Yeah. So. You sang, calling it a piece of poetry. I was looking through, I was doing some research on you, of course. I saw you were coming out with a book pretty much at the same time as this album was being released. Yeah,
the book is called Songs of Ignorance and Experiments, which is a pun on William Blake's Songs of Innocence and Experience. And it's 100 pages, and it's got all of the lyrics from all of my albums, and then it's also a lot of poetry in addition to that, and some songs that are not yet on an album, and I'm pretty excited about that. I actually just got the box of books today from the company.
Is it a kind of like a compliment to the album? Does it have really any connection, or is it?
It has all the songs, lyrics.
Okay,
so
it's so
if people want, to read along, it's kind of a good. Yeah. And we're going to have some kind of deal at the show, and then also on my website where people can buy this album, my first studio album, my live album, my EP, and the book, all for like for a package price.
Yeah.
But I think it'd be pretty cool if people do enjoy my lyrics, to buy the book and be able to like read along. And then there's a lot of poetry in there too. It's like I said, I probably 90% of what I write ends up just remaining a poem.
Yeah.
And I post a lot to Facebook. I pretty much, probably an average of 4 days a week, I post original poetry on Facebook.
Which is okay, because a lot of people post things on Facebook.
Yeah, I figure, it's either cat videos or pictures of the most interesting man in the world, or Ryan Gosling.
Yeah,
or poetry. Yeah. So I'm just going to go with the poetry.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty safe. That or Ryan Gosling, you probably wouldn't be going.
Hey girl, here's a poem for you.
And then insert your poem.
Yeah. I'd probably get shared a lot more if I did that. But anyway, this next one, which is called Improbable, also came out, I think, originally as I thought it was kind of a poem. And then I kind of was learning about. Do you know Nick Drake? Nick Drake's music. Yeah. I think I was listening to a lot of Nick Drake at the time. So at first I put this riff to it that was sort of Nick Drake-esque, and then I put it in the hands of my band and my producer, and they decided it was disco. So the result is pretty interesting. So that being said, and also it's worth mentioning. One of my favorite new local talents, this very young woman, I believe she's 16, maybe 17 now. Her name's Indigo D'Souza. Phenomenal singer and songwriter and guitarist. She's singing backup on this, so listen for her beautiful voice in the background. So.
Nick Drake disco. We're about to
Nick
listen
Drake
to.
disco, poetry. Yep.
All right.
The stars aren't really above us. In fact, they aren't even there at all. Each little star is just the light that remains from the death of a big fiery ball that burned out millions of years ago. But time is just a trick of the brain, and space is too, and so are you. So is everything you hope to obtain. But somehow you can hear this song. Somehow I am here playing guitar. So correct me if I'm wrong. How improbable, improbable we are. Improbable we are. Every night when we're sleeping, we all go completely insane. We enter this dimension where disbelief is in suspension. We can't even remember our names. Then we put on the mask of the waking, act as if it's all that we know, when just behind the face is a crazy place. We all work so hard to not let it show. But somehow you can hear this song. Somehow I am here playing guitar. So correct me if I'm wrong. How improbable, improbable we are. Improbable we are. I hope you can hear me. I'm taking it on trust. I hope you can hear me. You wonderful, terrible, terribly wonderful, totally improbable. Coalescence of stardust.
All right, that was Jeff Thompson with Improbable, the fourth song off of his new album, So Far So Strange. Yeah, I'd like to maybe talk a little more about the poetry side of you.
Sure.
I was talking to someone today, and they were kind of talking about, I don't know, they get kind of like a real spiritual sense out of your music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, I definitely different. I think different people have different approaches to writing, and I think it comes probably quite literally from different parts of the brain.
Mm-hmm.
And what I try to do, and pretty much the only material that I'll accept for myself, that I'll let come outside of my journal, is stuff that I feel like I overhear inside my own mind, rather than something that's consciously constructed. So sometimes somebody will say, okay, well, I'm going to write a song about my first bicycle and learning to ride a bike. And they might even like different people have different approaches. They might outline it or do like a brainstorm, like I can't remember what it's called, where you draw little bubbles and then that leads to another little bubble and have a little process they go through, and then they'll take it and like go, okay, the first verse is going to be about this, and the second verse is going to be about this. Now the chorus needs to tie those ideas together. So the chorus, all that stuff, I've tried to write that way, and I always end up with stuff that feels very forced to me.
It sounds like chemistry.
Well, yeah, but I mean, some people do it very, very well.
Yeah.
Like my friend David Wilcox sometimes writes that way, and he's got a very well. I think he probably writes in a lot of different ways, but he is very good at analyzing and breaking things down and thinking in terms of, oh, now I'm going to write a song about this. And he is a master of that. And I've tried to do that, and it doesn't work. Like it doesn't pass my BS test inside myself. Like when I read it, I'm like, ugh, that's a big lie.
Yeah.
But what I do is I go inside myself and I it's kind of like, it's similar to meditating. Like I go in, but instead of just trying to let go of thoughts, I'm looking for interesting thoughts, and I'm listening. Well, it's not looking, it's listening, and I'll literally hear something, and then write it down, like kind of like I was talking about earlier. But this next one is actually a spoken word piece. What I started doing in the last couple of years is, like, some of my poems would just lend them, like some of them are kind of like sonnets or short, pieces that are just probably supposed to stay on the page. But then sometimes I'll write something, I'm like, okay, well, that's definitely not a song, and it's definitely not like, a pretty little poem that should just stay on a page. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like they don't work as slam poems. Like I've entered slams before. I don't do well in slams because they don't have the kind of emotion. They're more philosophical than they have like personal emotional intensity that slam poems have. But they have kind of like a little bit of a hip hop influence, and both in terms of the rhyme scheme and also in terms of the delivery. And I, and I'm a big Jim Morrison fan from way back, but it's also, I don't have the delivery that he had, but it's sort of like what he did. I'll use spoken word to introduce songs or as segues between songs. So that being said, let's listen to this next track, which is called Why So Many Songs About Water. And then it leads directly into the song Waiting in the Water, which is the next track. They're almost like one track.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Should we just boom?
Is that cool? Yeah,
absolutely.
We still have like almost half an hour.
Yeah.
So.
I just want to remind everyone you're listening to WPVM FMLP 103.7. You can stream us at main-fm.org. Right now is All Roads Home, and we have on the air with us is Jeff Thompson, debuting his new album So Far So Strange, and this is track 5 and track 6 off of his new record.
Why so many songs about water, they ask? Well, with a flask full of spirit, to all who've ears to hear it, I say that water's a fourth of all there is. Along with fire, earth, and wind, it's a quarter of the dollar that's the currency of the basic blend. There's a currency, it flows from you to me and back again, just like the movement of the sea, see? And I could write about fire, I guess, no more potent a symbol or less. The cosmic conflagration of subatomic information flowing through the formation of ever-changing forms. Electrons in swarms, brilliantly insane, charging through the nervous system, lighting up the brain or heating up a wire. I could write about fire. I could write about Earth, the name of the planet where we all took our birth, but for what it's worth, look at the mugshots from space. This planet's face is blue. Too much attention gets stolen away by the whites, the blacks, the gunmetal gray of the everyday, the solid, the squalid wasteland of petrified unpleasantries and spiritual peasantry perpetuated by the pauperish pageantry we've mistaken for the real deal, you feel me? And wind is wonderful, don't get me wrong. I could whip up the breath of the breeze into song, float some words along like a feather on the tail of a zephyr, paint you a dream from the mind of the jet stream. But I mean, I just end up talking to you about how it flows. The river that eddies in and out of your nose. The fluid we float through and share with those who cohabitate this largely liquid landscape. And you can chalk it up to astrology, that's fine with me, whatever. It's my Scorpio sun sign, fine. But if you ever Go look at the stars at the end of the day through your watery orbs at this milkiest of ways. Don't tell me those pinpoints of incandescence shining ensconced in their pitch black essence don't look just like phosphorescence. And wouldn't you love to just wade into that cosmic pool, fade into the cool, wet lapping of the waves of space, dissolving you down to your original face, who you were before you were anybody's son or daughter? Then you tell me, then you tell me, then you tell me why so many songs about water. Among the broken shells, shattered by the providence of geologic time, wanted by the ocean for some non-specific crime, hounded by eternity, followed by fate. I'm waiting in the water. Guess I'll have to. Like trying to use a spoon to gather all the sunlight that's reflected by the moon. Trying to remember what I used to have with you is mostly a distraction from the things I have to do. Yes, our love was always on thin ice, gained a lot of weight. Now I'm waiting in the water. Guess I'll have to. Wasn't just a tragedy, but somehow he was tapped into some larger destiny. But maybe he just got confused, mistook a mermaid for the muse, and swam out past the buoys, and then turned around too late.
That was track 5 and track 6 off of your new record, So Far So Strange. Track 5 was Why So Many Songs About Water, ? And 6, Waiting in the Water. It was like a really cool build up to track number 6. I thought there. It kind of felt like a, what do you call those when plays are like rock songs? Or, I don't know what I'm talking about.
A rock opera?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like Tommy or... Yeah, I'd love to write one of those someday. Actually,
yeah,
Aaron Price, who plays keys in my band and does backing vocals, and sort of it plays all the keys on this record, and kind of was a consulting producer. He and I actually have talked about. We have some neat ideas for rock operas that we may do at some point. But,
nice.
And actually it's worth mentioning that's spoken word piece, Why So Many Songs About Water. The reason I wrote that is that my first studio record, Still Small Voices, probably half the songs on that album use water as the central metaphor of the song, and so I
Okay.
got sick of hearing the question, why you write so many songs about water, man? I'm like, "God, all right, I'm going to just answer it
It's
once
really
and for
not
all."
that important.
Yeah.
It's just water.
Yeah, right. So anyway,
Diet Coke. Yeah, you mentioned Jeff Buckley in like one of the last lines, I believe.
yeah, and the last verse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any influence there about Jeff Buckley?
Yeah, he's probably he's in my top 5, along with like Joni Mitchell and who else is up there? Ani DeFranco, believe it or not, is a huge influence on me. And
I mean, that's...
who else? Of course, Neil Diamond. No. Anyway, but yeah, Jeff Buckley has been a huge influence on me for well over 10 years, I'd say. And actually, I guess it was about 10 years ago. The agent that I was working with at the time sent a recording of me playing a few Buckley songs to this thing in Chicago. There was a birthday tribute for Jeff, and our birthdays are, I think, 5 days apart. I think his was the 18th. No, his was the 17th maybe, and mine's the 13th of November. And I've just always felt this, and our names are both Jeff, but and I've always just loved playing his music, listening to his music, and I always felt a deep sympathy towards him. And anyway, she sent this recording of me playing a couple of songs to this birthday tribute in Chicago, and I got in, and there were maybe 20 of us from all over the world. There were people from Italy, there was somebody from Sweden, there was somebody from Japan, a few people from the States, a few people from Canada, one guy from Mexico, and it was just all these like Buckley fanatics from all over the world.
Like literally all over.
Yeah, because there was, I think there were several hundred people applying to play in this tribute, and maybe 20 of us made it in, and we played at the Metro in Chicago, which is where Live in Chicago was filmed, which is this Jeff Buckley concert video, and there were, I think, 1,000 or so people there, and one of them, I'm glad I didn't know until after it already played, but one of them was his mom, Mary Guibert, and when I came out of the green room, she was actually waiting for me, and she gave me this big hug, and she had tears in her eyes, and she said, "You're going to come drink some screwdrivers with me." And I knew who she was because I'm such a big fan. I'd read
Jeff Buckley's mom?
Yeah. Because I'd read the bio, and I looked at his website, so I knew what she looked like, and I was just like, "Oh my God, you're Mary Guibert." And so we went out to a bar nearby, and we got tipsy on screwdrivers, and talked a lot about Jeff, and he, which was just literally a dream come true for me, because I had all these dreams about him, and now here I was talking to his mom.
Yeah, the second best way of knowing Jeff Buckley.
Yeah, and she said some extremely sweet, flattering things to me. She was like, "You have the same sense of humor." I was like, "What? He was a dork?" She was like, "He's a total dork." And she said some very sweet things to me, and then she gave me her business card and said, "You need to come out to LA and stay on my air mattress, and I'll hook you up." And and I, of course, didn't follow up on that, because I was just like, "Yeah, I'm not going to call Jeff Buckley's mom and fly out to LA." But I had this dream like 6 months later that I was looking in the mirror, and when I looked in the mirror, there was this reflection coming back at me that was half me and half Jeff Buckley. And in the dream, I was like, who am I? Am I me, or am I Jeff Buckley? I don't know. And I woke up and I was kind of pondering it, and I was like, well, I know how to play all of his songs, and I can sing pretty close to him. Like, I do a pretty good impersonation, and and I have a background in professional theater. And it suddenly dawned on me, like, oh my God, there's no picture about there's no movie about him yet. Mm-hmm. And now I think there are like 4 coming out this year, 3 or 4 coming out this year.
Oh, really?
But I thought, oh my gosh, I should call Mary and tell her that if they're ever making a biopic, I'd like the option to audition. Yeah. And so I called, and I left a voicemail for her, and I told her, I said, "I know this is going to sound presumptuous and arrogant as hell, but had this dream," and I explained it to her, and I was like, "So, if there's ever a movie, I'd like my name in the hat." Yeah. And she called back and left a voicemail for me. And first of all, this was creepy. She was like, "Hey, son, haha, just kidding." She goes, "I think you were misinterpreting your dream, because I have been wanting to get in touch with you, and I couldn't find your contact information, but I want to fly you out to New York City to perform in this CD release that we're doing." And it was a posthumous CD release of all of the tracks that had not gone on to Live at Chennai, which was his EP. Mm-hmm. It was a double box set. So she bought me a plane ticket to fly out to New York City and perform at Chennai, which is where he used to perform in New York, along with I met his girlfriend, I met his drummer, I met his producer. I got to get drunk with Mary and her lawyer in a hotel room. Pretty much the 2 times that I've hung out with her, it's enjoyed it. Involved a lot of drinking, but anyway, that was quite literally a dream come true.
Yeah.
So, well, maybe not. I didn't actually dream of meeting Mary Guibert, so it's not literally a dream come true, but you know what I mean.
When it comes to someone acting like another musician in a movie, I think it matters more about, I like it when, like Joaquin Phoenix actually did the songs of Johnny Cash. Like he actually sang, like when Kevin Spacey.
Well, the guy that they've got playing him in, I believe the one that Mary ended up okaying is called Mystery White Boy.
Yeah.
And I think that's what, it's called Mystery White Boy. And the guy that they have playing him, his name is Zane Carney. No, his brother's name is Zane Carney. His name is Reeve Carney. Mm-hmm. And he played Spider-Man in the Broadway production. He played Peter Parker in Spider-Man. He's got this phenomenal voice, and he sings like Buckley, and he looks just like him.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah, right? Lucky guy. And so I think they couldn't have picked a better guy to play the role, but except me. But
anyways.
Anyway, that being said, that's a good segue into this next song, Stars in You, because actually, that's funny. For those of you who are listening who are Jeff Buckley fans, I got the original idea for this riff for Stars in You from Mojo Pin by Jeff Buckley. So, a little trivia for you there.
It's a starry, 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 starry night. I left the streetlights far behind me, and I'm on my back making up new constellations. There's so many stars, the brightness almost blinds me. And I wonder if your night is clear like mine, if you're watching the same lights shining as they're falling. I'm recalling that night I spent with you. It's been 10 years now. Remember we two on the grass in sleeping bags, all soggy with the dew. Remember we drank in the sky like a sea of champagne till sunrise, kicked the bottle over and poured it down the drain, and let in the blue. And you left me drunk on stars and you. Drunk on stars and you. This flashlight, this pen and paper, and this feeling I can't fit to words. It hides out of reach from me under the surface and just doesn't want to emerge. So I write these lines, play my guitar, try to give voices to these old scars. But every phrase, like these shooting stars, just burns out in the air. Grass and sleeping bags, all soggy with the dew. Remember we drank in the sky like a sea of champagne till sunrise, kicked the bottle over and poured it down the drain, and let in the blue. And you left me drunk on stars and you. Drunk on stars and you. And you. They say Einstein had a theory that space and time are intertwined. I guess that's why I'm staring into space now, hoping I can find a girl I knew in high school and then I pull my blanket around my chin, breathe the cold air and darkness in, and make a wish for you. Dream of kissing you wherever you are, wherever you are. It's been 10 years now. I remember we two on the grass and sleeping bags, all soggy with the dew. Remember we drank in the sky like a sea of champagne till sunrise, kick the bottle over and poured it down the drain. I said, poured it down the drain, and it poured it down the drain and let in the blue. The stars in you, and I'm still drunk on stars and you. I'm still drunk on stars. I'm still drunk on stars. I'm still drunk on stars. You.
All right. I kind of want to just say that was called "I'm Still Drunk on Stars and You," but it wasn't. It was called "Stars and You" without the drunk part. But that's what you said, and I like that. It's catchy. That's nice. There's a lot of different sounds in your album. I've been realizing as we play through it.
Yeah, and believe it or not, I culled down this material from a lot of different stylistic possibilities to try to make this album be cohesive stylistically.
Mm-hmm.
And this is as close as I can get because, like, you know, one of the problems with just like trying to be a channel rather than consciously being like, okay, I'm going to write a song about this, I'm going to write in this way, is that I just sort of write whatever words and whatever style comes through me. So sometimes it's reggae, sometimes it's blues, sometimes it's singer-songwriter, sometimes it's hard rock, sometimes it's jazz, sometimes it's R&B. And, you know, and actually this next song, which is called Amelie, or in parentheses, Come To Me, is sort of I think of it as like a French cafe song. And I would challenge you and the listeners to name all of the movie references in this song and count them. I will be very impressed. If anybody can send me on Facebook, if
they're
anybody
not all
can
French movie convention.
I'll give a free copy of this album to anybody who can Facebook, email me all the movie references in this song. Anybody who gets all of them gets a free copy of the CD.
That sounds good. Guys, come on. It's up to you.
I'll kick around this hourglass until the sand's used up. You know I'm just a Wesley searching for his buttercup, writing poems at midnight all alone in my pajamas. I'm just some Clarence Worley searching for his Alabama. Come to me, Amelie. Let's just throw off all our clothes and dance our way into the sea. Come to me, Amelie. Come to me. I ain't been on this earth too long, and I'll be leaving soon. You know I'm just a Sam, I'm out here looking for my June. I strut and fret my hour upon the stage while they applaud, but you know I'm just a herald, and I'm searching for my Maud. Come to me, Amelie. Let's open up these doors and let our hearts beat wild and free. Come to me, Amelie. Come to me. Let's have breakfast at Tiffany's after staying up till dawn. You be my Hermione and I can be your Ron. If you can be my Jenny girl, I'll be a Forrest Gump. If we got love like that, I'll be just fine with being a chump. But I'd rather be Jack Dawson, babe. You could be my Rose, but really any fairy tale will do it, I suppose. What will be, will be. Que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. Could you be my Amelie? What will be, will be.
All right. What was the name
That was
of
Amelie.
Okay. Oh
and-
yeah, the connections with movies. And
Yeah.
everything. I hope someone emails you.
That'd be cool. Yeah, it's Jeff Thompson Music on Facebook. If you do a search for Jeff Thompson Music, and
Mhm.
if you can email me, tell me what like all the songs that all the movies that I referenced in that, I will give you a free copy of the CD.
Let's talk about where you're going to be.
I'm going to be. So first of all, this Sunday, November 23rd, at Hanger Hall, which is 31 Park Avenue North here in Asheville, I'll be releasing my book,
Okay.
which is a 100-page book of poetry and lyrics.
Wow.
And that will be 6:30 p.m., 31 Park Avenue North. Then on Friday, December 5th, I will be at the ISIS Theater downstairs at 8 p.m. with my full band, my full 5-piece band, and some special guests releasing my new CD, which you've just heard tonight. Well, you've heard 80% of it. There are two more songs, which I don't think we're going to have time to get to.
We're going to be able to play one of the songs.
Okay,
And they'll fade
so
out.
we'll play Shade of Blue, and then the one that's missing is called Calling Back. So anyway, here's Shade of Blue.
So wait, let's just do it again.
Yeah.
ISIS.
ISIS, Friday, December 5th, and you can get tickets through their website. You can also get them there at the door in advance too, and they're cheaper in advance.
Yeah, there we go. All right, that was Jeff Thompson with his not his debut album, but debuting his album, So Far So Strange. This is All Roads Home. Up next is Can I Ask You a Personal Question? And this is the last song we're going to play, second to last song on his album,
Shade of Blue.
All
and
right.
JeffThompsonMusic.com.
That color for you, and you, viewed from afar, look like you're dipping into the same jar. Here we stand, brushes in hand, both of us claiming we don't understand.